We are facing mass unemployment right now, and Senate Republicans are working on a very controversial emergency bill to address it, and you should know what's in this bill. The biggest point of contention is that Republicans want to set aside $500 billion to hand out to corporations. That's a 5 with 11 zeros next to it. Now, that's an enormous amount of money, and so the key question is who's going to get it? Is it going to be everyday workers, ordinary employees, or is it going to be executives and investors? And we have a good idea. The details are just buried inside this 250-page bill. First, we know that this guy, Trump's Treasury Secretary, who's a former Goldman Sachs executive, will have almost complete control over who will get this money. The bill gives the Secretary of the Treasury the power to administer the program under the National Emergencies Act. We also know that this bailout money will have almost no strings attached. The New York Times reported that the bill will let the Treasury Department hand out hundreds of billions of dollars to corporations, potentially including businesses owned by President Trump, without requiring a binding commitment to preserve jobs and wages. In other words, it's possible for a company under this bill to receive taxpayer bailout funds and then still fire its workers and or use the money for executive compensation. And what's more, and this is really remarkable, the bill doesn't require the Trump administration to reveal who the recipients are until 6 months after the money is given out. Now, who generally is going to get this money? We know that too. The airline industry will get tens of billions for sure. They're also looking to give federal assistance to the cruise, hospitality, and oil and gas industries. The fact that Americans are going to bail out cruise companies is worth noting because the major cruise companies aren't American. They're based in Panama, in Liberia, and in Bermuda, and they basically pay zero federal income tax in the US. So Senate Democrats are objecting to all of this and they're negotiating for a different deal. Let's now talk about what the Senate Republican bill would do for individuals and families. Well, first, what it doesn't do. The GOP bill doesn't have any protections against eviction or foreclosure for people who lose their jobs and can't make those payments. It also doesn't have any student loan forgiveness. Democrats are pushing for at least $10,000 in loan forgiveness per student. The bill does include direct cash payments to millions of people, $1,200 for individuals, couples get double that, and $500 per child. But there's a big catch. The only way you can get that money is if you file federal taxes, and there are millions of people who make too little to file federal taxes, including retirees who live off Social Security. So the Democrats' alternative bill does include those people, and it increases the amount that everyone would get, $1,500 per person and $1,500 for each child as well. The Democratic bill would do some other interesting things. It would make it illegal to cut people's internet off during the pandemic. It would give an extra $450 million to food banks, and it would also make it illegal to cut people's utilities off during the crisis. So there are active negotiations going on around these bills, and they're moving very quickly. So by the time you see this, they may have already concluded. But I think it's still interesting to see how the two parties are prioritizing their response and trying to stave off a potential recession or even a depression.